The last 1.5 years have been really exciting. We had our daughter, our second child. The business grew dramatically. We moved to Austin. We bought a second property. We were able to increase our friend circle. We were traveling a lot. We were back at events. We were hosting hundreds of people. Life was going perfect. Until I recognized and my wife recognized that we both are in a situation that's less than optimal. You see, when life goes really fast, often one of the things that suffers the most during that fast pace of life is your closest relationship. And in this moment, me and Nita, my wife, were suffering in our marriage. You see, when all these beautiful things happen around you, it starts taking a toll on some things that may be very dear to you. Me and Nita were having the same fights. We were arguing about the same things. It felt like we were always tired and exhausted, that we were not able to make time for each other, or sometimes we didn't want to make time for each other. So like any reasonable relationship, we said, okay, we should get a relationship coach. And then I started reaching out to a lot of relationship coaches, but they tend to know me and they tend to recognize me, and I felt a little uncomfortable. And so we had to reach out to therapists. And we reached out to some amazing relationship therapists, and we were able to do an introductory call with this fantastic relationship therapist. And we were able to find a time to start our relationship therapy. But until then, she said, before we start our work, I want you to read this one book. I want you to read this book, and Nita, I want you to read this book and read it independently and see what comes through to you as you are experiencing this book. And this book already changed our relationship. It already changed how we looked at each other, how we communicated with each other. And what we found is in a matter of a month, we were able to resolve most of our challenges just because we had access to this information and this book. I want to share some of the key nuggets that I learned in this book so you can also see if this could help your marriage, or it could help a marriage of your client, or it could help a marriage of somebody that you know. The first idea that I absolutely love from this book is true liberation is freedom from your automatic responses. This is a quote from Jiddu Krishnamurti that is quoted in the book. And what the author talks about is the real work that we have to do as individuals is to get free from the automatic response that we have to everything. You see, these automatic responses usually happen because of some past trauma or past story that we've lived. And because of that past story, we continue to believe that past is still our present. And because of that, we tend to operate from this automatic position that does not serve what's really happening for us in that moment. The second idea was extremely powerful, and that reminded me of a problem that we have in personal growth. You see, personal growth has become really personal, which means we constantly talk about how we need to heal, how we need to do the work, how we need to change our understanding of things. And what we forget in that is sometimes it makes us a little bit self-obsessed. And we forget that we live in a relationship world. We live in a world where we interact with somebody or something at any given time. There was a research done by a person called Renee. Renee Splits found, and this was in like 1940s or something, and what Renee Splits found was he was researching babies, and babies who would survive and babies who were more likely to die. And they found that if a baby just gets his basic needs, which is like, coddled and wrapped and diapers are changed, whatever that is, right? Changed, bathed and all of that, they would have a normal rate of survival. But they would have an increased rate of survival if they were being talked to kindly. So if they were told, oh, my beautiful baby, oh, my kind baby, oh, you're smiling so well, and basically have a conversation with them, the survival rate of babies would go up. So effectively what Renee found was that if you would just give a little bit more relationship to a baby, somebody that is just born in this world, their likelihood to survive goes up. That shows how important it is for us to understand that all of us live in a relationship world, which means we need to understand that relationship and relational understanding of each other is equally important in personal growth than personal understanding of ourselves. So it drove my curiosity to say, oh, I'm getting really good at being able to regulate my emotions. I'm very good at reorganizing my thoughts. But how much effort am I putting in really understanding people around me and relationship with people around me, with my wife, with my kids, with my friends? And how am I regulating that? How am I creating camaraderie in that? And how am I growing that? And that was important as we were rebuilding our relationship. What happens is when we are in an argument, when we are in a situation with our partner, the person that we see, the moment we see them, is what this individual, what this researcher, what this therapist is called a core negative image. When you are in a fight, when you're in an argument, when you're in a disagreement with someone, you start to think that that person is that core negative image, and that's just how you perceive them going forward. But that is not true. The core negative image is the worst image that you have of that person. That is not what they are in every single moment. We think that is the case because we have this core negative image that we create in our mind, and then we keep bringing it up because we think that is the truth of this person, and we start perceiving this person as this core negative image. If you could bring your attention towards, is this what the person is all the time? Or is it just my perception that that person is this core negative image all the time? You will find that that's just not true. The person is not their core negative image all the time. They might be that person every single time you're having a disagreement, you're having a fight, you have some kind of non-camaraderie that's happening with them, but that's not who they are. Once you have an understanding that core negative image is just that, an image that you have created in the worst of somebody's situation, you will find that there is also image on their regular day, and there's an image that you really fell in love with, and that also is present in that person. This understanding or differentiation of what is showing up for me in a moment as a perspective shift was so important, because suddenly I could see that I was perceiving the person that I love, and I was looking at the person that I love in a core negative image of theirs. It wasn't who they were all day, every day. It was those moments where I couldn't let go of that core negative image, is where I became hyper responsive to, or I became triggered with, or I couldn't accept, because I thought that was what the person was. But that's not what the person was. The person truly was the person that I was in love with, and I am in love with. And the core negative image is just one of the things that happen to them when they are at their worst. And then came this idea, and that was the blessing of repair. You see, this person argues, debates, suggests that every relationship will have a great honeymoon period. They would have a period where everything's going to hell, and it's not good, and it's not fun, and everything is breaking down. But the quality of a relationship is not determined with, do they have a breakdown? Do they have a tough time? Do they have a challenge? The quality of a relationship and power of a relationship is really how they repair. What is the process of repairing that relationship? What is the process and ability to repair that relationship? And repairing is very courageous, because repair requires you to show up in a very different way than how you showed up when you were having a breakdown. You need to let what he calls your adaptive child take a back seat, and have your mature adult be able to take the front seat and start driving the conversation. You see, the author suggests that we have an adaptive child, which is basically the child that has had all these situations and traumas and belief systems that they've created, which just acts up every single time something happens. And all of us also have the mature adult. This mature adult is where you rationalize a thought and you say, why is it that I believe this? You regulate an emotion, and then you respond as an adult, not as a child. And that is powerful, because once you realize that there's an adaptive child in you that is wanting and needing things and is acting out of emotion in that moment, or frantic energy in that moment, you will recognize that there's also a mature adult in you that can act differently, that can think differently, that can communicate differently. One of the most powerful ideas in this book is relationship is not a singular act. Building a relationship is not about that big fancy movie moment where you propose the girl and live happily ever after. It's not even a day-to-day act. It's a moment-to-moment act. If you love someone and if you care for someone, you need to be aware of that moment to moment and act as a mature adult moment to moment. Be responsible as an adult moment to moment, and regulate yourself moment to moment. Now, I've given you some amazing key ideas that you can pretty much bring to your life immediately, but nothing is more powerful than actually getting the book and reading it and making your own notes. So I want to tell you the name of the book. The book's name is Us. It's written by a relational therapist, the person who created relational therapy, Terrence Real, and it is one of the best books recently that I've read around relationships and how to be a more mature adult in your relationship. What are some of these ideas that you think can be applicable for you immediately in your relationship, or something that you could take to your clients and would create that shift in them so they could also have an adult relationship with their partner? Share that with me in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching.